In this episode of Motive Garage, presented by Sparesbox, we get JET200 on the dyno at Redsun Motorsport and go for our very first drive. So since our last episode, the guys from Redsun have been doing a little bit more work on JET200 while I've been away. They adjusted the shims on the head, and then this morning on the dyno, they bed the engine in, which went really well. And then obviously changed the filter and the oil and inspected that. Everything looks really good with the car. The other thing they also did during the run-in procedure this morning was just do a good systems check. There are a couple of little things they had to sort out wiring-wise. Our alternator was actually having too much voltage. It had a small problem there, so we had to fix the wiring in the alternator. We fixed a couple other bits of wiring, and we've just put it back on the dyno now, and essentially we can get into tuning. Now, when it comes to tuning this car, it's not like a drag car or a street car where we can be super aggressive with it. We're tuning the car to be able to do laps. So the boost curve won't be super aggressive. We want it to be nice and smooth and creep up. We also want to make sure that the timing actually, we pull a lot of timing out towards the rev limiter up top just to basically make the power fall over. And we're also talking about how hard we're going with ignition timing and air fuel ratios. Basically, we want a combination that can do multiple laps, because the big problem we had with this car in the past is when it was on full power, John Boston basically never got more than one full lap in it because either the coils would fail, the stock ones that we had, or something else wouldn't work for multiple hard laps. So this time we're concentrating on making sure we can get a lot of laps in, which is good for testing before we hit world time attack. So what power we end up with now, probably not everything that we can make, but it won't be low. This thing's pretty angry. The graph shows the power on wastegate pressure, and you can see that as it hits 14 psi, it starts to level out as it should, but when the VVL kicks in, the boost starts to creep up all the way to 22.5 psi. Why it's doing this could be a combination of things, including the efficiency of the larger camshaft profile, combined with a small 0.8 rear housing, plus the design of the manifold and the size of the wastegate. We'd prefer not to point the finger at one particular thing, And we will be testing a few changes to see if we can sort out the boost control. The boost curve does make the power curve more linear and the car better to drive, but it does make boost control difficult as we up the power. But just under 400 kilowatts, or a little over 500 wheel horsepower, is plenty of grunt for a shakedown.
JET200, but it is what it is. I've been waiting 5 years to drive this thing, eagerly awaiting to drive it again. Came off the dyno at 3 o'clock in the morning, thought everything is exactly how we want it yet, and we know what we need to do. I haven't wheel aligned it, so I shouldn't really be shaking down a Powercruise, but hey, nothing wrong with going for a little lap. Will admit that this isn't my exact first drive. Yesterday was. I basically just got impatient, went out for a little drive even though it was wet. Today it's dried up a little bit, so I thought, you know what? I'll take you guys for another lap. We're not going too crazy, obviously, it's a new setup. Just testing the systems out, make sure it's all good. Obviously with 5-year-old semi-slicks, I'm not really going to get the chance to heat cycle them so they work properly. So we're not really going to be doing much. I honestly just wanted to take it for a lap before we do our proper shakedown as soon as the weather permits.
So the most important question that needs to be answered is, was it fun? And yes, back behind the wheel of JET200 after over 5 years was simply awesome. Now, it wasn't the shakedown that I wanted to do with the car, but hey, I couldn't help myself after so long of not getting into the driver's seat of JET200. Now, the whole purpose of a shakedown isn't to see what lap times it does or how fast it is. It's just to see whether all of the systems in the car, both electrical and mechanical, work. and then obviously you can work out any teething problems and things like that. So even at Powercruise, we did discover a few issues, and we did fix a couple of issues, which is a good thing. Now, the car wasn't wheel aligned, and we couldn't go flat out around the circuit, so we didn't really get to test everything at full noise and full speed with the full loading on every component. But really what I wanted to check is, after sitting around for so long, is are the spherical bearings seized up? The hub's all good? Do the brakes still work? Has any electrical items deteriorated, etc.? But overall, the test was pretty good. We do have a couple of small issues to sort out. One of them is an electrical issue in the ignition system. It does, after it gets warm, get a little bit of a misfire, very small one. So we're going to sort that out. We've already ordered what we need. The other issue that we had was power steering, but I did fix that during the weekend, so that's all good now. And the last issue we need to look at is to do with an electrical issue where the car basically, well, it shut off while I was out on track and I had to get towed back in. It looks like it's either something to do with a driver for the injectors, or it's something to do with the cherry sensor that's on the front, which obviously is for cam timing. So we need to look at that cam timing pickup and see if that's an issue, whether it's deteriorated over time or whether we need to change to something different. So it's an electrical issue, nothing mechanical. We'll be sorting that out. The other thing we're going to do with the car right now is we're going to take the turbocharger and manifold off, and we're going to change turbochargers. We had planned to switch to the G35-900, more modern technology, later anyway, but we're going to do it now as we want to modify the exhaust manifold for a little bit better flow to do what we want to do, and see if we can fix that boost creep a little bit as well. So we're going to be doing that and get it all back together, and then hopefully we can hit the circuit for a proper shakedown and continue development on JET200 as we get ready for Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge 2022. It's only about 4 weeks away. So wish us luck, subscribe, and keep your eyes tuned on some pretty good progress videos coming up.